Hi, and welcome to Chem Series, powered by Better Earth Theory, an organization dedicated to educating youth about plastic pollution. I'm Sharon, and today we're going to talk about what is PVC. This is part two of our What is PVC set of videos, so if you haven't watched part one yet, go and do that first. All right, before we start, let's get a quick little recap about what is PVC. PVC is a type of plastic. It is relatively stable and it lasts a pretty long time. It can also be heated and molded into many different shapes. So, because of this, how it's so easy to mold, PVC is a relatively cheap and widespread material. So, PVC stands for polyvinyl chloride. Poly meaning many, so polyvinyl chloride meaning a chain of many vinyl chlorides. It ends up looking something like that picture over there. And where do we see PVC? PVC is almost everywhere around us. It's in the pipes, it's in toys, furniture, medical tools, building material, and many, many more places. Sometimes super unexpected places too. Now, seeing how widespread PVC is, it's not that surprising that in 2022, the global PVC production capacity was 59.97 million tons, which is a huge number and honestly a little hard to understand. So, to put it in elephants, PVC that is 59.97 million tons, that's heavier than 1 million elephants, which is a lot of elephants all put together. And, well, if PVC is so simple and useful, then having a lot of it shouldn't matter, right? But in fact, every step of making, using, and then throwing away PVC can come with a lot of problems. The first one is oil mining. From our last video, we talked about how PVC is made from ethane, and we get ethane from oil mining, mining the oil that is, buried deep underground, the black one that we talked about last time. And during the process of oil mining, it can release a lot of bad chemicals into the environment. It can get into the air and the water and the soil and end up in the food and water that we put in our bodies, which is a pretty dangerous thing, if you ask me. Two specific types of things that end up in our environment are heavy metals. Heavy metals are just um, some types of metals that are relatively heavier and shouldn't be found in soil and water in like humongous quantities, like how they're released through oil mining. These could include nickel, copper, cadmium, mercury, lead, and other things like that. When these heavy metals or these types of elements enter into our soil, animals and plants can get sick and die. When humans get these heavy metals in our bodies, like a small quantity is okay because that just naturally happens. But when it's like in larger like amounts, it can cause a lot of problems. Some have linked it to causing cancer and causing kidney problems and all that. And the second type of thing that gets released during oil mining would be solvents. Solvents, they're often found in the oil that is getting mined, and they evaporate super easily. So as soon as like people are getting it out of from underground, like it's already starting to evaporate, even if they try to contain it as much as possible. And these like evaporated like gases, when you inhale them and put them in their body, so you breathe them in, it can cause health problems too. It's also been connected with cancer too, and other problems like breathing issues and like your lungs getting damaged. So, not great news either. So, after we talked about what happens when we're trying to make plastic or PVC, what about after we've used PVC? So, a lot of times, PVC gets burned after it's used because, especially after it's been made dirty, it's pretty hard to recycle. So, a lot of places would burn up the trash to get rid of it. But burning PVC can release a lot of chlorine compounds into the environment. And chlorine compounds are also bad for your health. Um, you might be remember that your parents would tell you not to drink pool water because they use chlorine in it. That is very valid. Because again, chlorine can lead to a lot of negative health issues. And with the type of chlorine compounds that are released by plastic burning, it's even worse than your pool. So remember how PVC is this like chain on the top left? That Cl there represents chlorine. So when you burn something, you basically break it up. You break up these plastic into smaller compounds, and then sometimes they combine with oxygen or other materials that are next to the plastic. And those materials tend to be not that great for you. So let's take a little bit of a dive into this. When PVC is burned, it can release things like chlorine dioxide, methyl chloride, methylene chloride, allyl chloride, vinyl chloride, etc., etc. And all of these, when consumed by plants or animals or humans, are not great. Right, so chlorine dioxide sounds a lot like carbon dioxide, right? And in fact, it looks super similar too. You see that compound with two red O's on it? That is chlorine dioxide. It's one chlorine, the green one, connected to two red O's or oxygens. That makes it chlorine, di meaning two, chlorine dioxide. And it also makes the one on the left, the two carbons connected together and a chlorine and three hydrogens. That is, again, our vinyl chloride. So sometimes it just gets broken up without combining with other things. And then the bottom left, you see that H and the Cl. That's hydrogen chloride. It's also called hydrochloric acid when it's combined with water. So if HCl, this thing, gets into water, then a lot of times it can also lead to the water become acidic, and that can affect the plants and the animals that are living in the water. So after talking about so much bad things, what can we do about it? Well, as always, it's not a super simple solution, but there are ways to help move towards a better direction in terms of PVC. Some ideas include getting the government on board so that they can help limit the amount of PVC that is being made. This would take a lot of coordination between the, like us, the people, the government, and then also companies, because they'd all probably be losing profit from that. So there's all sorts of things that are needed to be considered when we think about this. And then restricting oil mining would help protect the people in the environment directly, because oil mining, as we just learned, can release a lot of chemicals that are not good for our health. And by lessening the amount of oil that's getting mined, that also means we can produce less plastic, which would also be a good thing for the environment. But not so great for people who are trying to use these cheaper materials so that they don't have to spend so much money on just buying essential stuff like food that's packaged by plastic and stuff. So there's a lot of facets that we need to consider when we think about how we can decrease the use of plastics. But it's a very important thing to consider, because plastics and the process of making and throwing away plastic can lead to a lot of bad effects too. So to sum it all up, we need to be very careful and think a lot and do some research before we decide what is the best course of action that we should help promote. All right, and to end it on a good note, even if lots of bad things can be happening with our use of plastic, there is still a way where we can try to combat the results. So together, let's try to make Earth cleaner. Thank you so much for watching this video. And again, this video was powered by Better Earth Theory, an organization dedicated to educating youth on plastic pollution. Thank you, and see you next time.